Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is the 23rd episode of the SuperNova Show. And I am your host, Colton Roberts. And today we've got a good cast of characters. We got Schmoedown Pro, Mr. Amaru Moses, and we got the usual cast, Mr. Robert Kastner. Thank you guys for coming along. The star, the secondary star of this show, Mr. Robert Kastner. And yeah, this is going to be good. We've got Schmoedown to talk about. We got Battlefield review, and we're going to talk about Versus. And yeah, that's going to be very exciting. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Me and Robert talked about it last week, but now we get to see Amaru's opinion of it. And we're going to do Goblet of Fire. And then me and Robert will talk about the Bad Batch. So that'll be fun. It'll be great. So I'm going to go ahead and bring out Mr. Amaru Moses. What's up, brother?
What's going on, fam? How you doing?
Can't complain. Just another week. Just another show. Yeah, like before the show, I was telling you about how 2 of my videos came out this week from my personal channel. Second one was a little rocky, internet issues. The first one, the first set I had filmed with my kids like a few weeks ago, so we hammered that one out pretty well. This one I filmed this, I guess it would be Friday morning since this is coming out Saturday or Sunday. I filmed it Friday morning and released it at noon, so I did not have a whole lot of time to even go back and look at it, which means if that video is not up on the internet by Sunday, I took it down because it was horrible and reshot it. So good work, team. But how you been?
I've been good, man. A lot of good things going on. Summer break has started. Very happy about that. It's official summer break. I don't have to go back into work for a while, which is nice. Yeah, and possibility of a dog being around these parts in like the next week or so are increasing. So I'm very excited about that. Yeah, just chilling, studying, and getting ready for the next matches. So,
Okay, well that's good. So I have a question. Since you live in Charlotte, I've noticed where I live, like ever since the mask mandate came down, people have gotten absolutely ridiculous. How is it in Charlotte? Like now, like today, wearing my Slytherin shirt along with my Slytherin mask because, to represent. But also, Harry Potter Day. But like I know at Walmart, they no longer make you wear your mask. I prefer to wear it even in there because then people avoid you. And I love it. Like it is the best deterrent ever for people having to speak to me. And it's the best. But I don't know if how in a bigger city, like I live in the country, so I don't know how things are down there.
A lot more people. I'm still not out there in the streets just yet. I mean, like I'm actually around the people I haven't seen that I used to hang out with. I haven't seen them in a year. I'm around them again. But there's levels to the amount of out I'm getting. But what I've seen, it's probably about the same as everywhere else. Half the people walk around without the mask, and I'm like, I really hope you're vaccinated. Because if you're not vaccinated, you can walk around without the mask. I am vaccinated, and I still walk around with the mask. I'm probably walking around with the mask for the summer. When school year hits again, that's when I'm going to probably be like, all right, I think I'm good. I'm going to not walk around with the mask anymore. I'll be fine. But this summer is mask on. We're not going future mask off just yet. Not for me, at least. So,
yeah, like my job requires you to still wear the mask. So I wear it 8 hours a day, keep one in my pocket. It's pretty much with my jeans, my right pocket has my wallet, my left pocket has whatever mask I'm going to wear that day. And that's just how it is. And the unfortunate thing I've said on the podcast before is sometimes I put on the wrong jeans, and thus I don't have my wallet or my mask, and I feel like a gigantic butthole when I go somewhere.
You need to take them out of your jeans every day when you get home. But that's neither here nor there. It's fine.
Well, normally what I do is I go ahead and like put my jeans on the bed in the morning because I wake up at 5:30. I don't actually start getting ready till like 6:15. Sometimes my wife moves them, and then I'm like, "Ooh, these are my jeans. I'll put them on and I'll go." And then I'll be driving, and I won't feel my wallet in my back pocket, and I'll be like, at least I have my driver's license memorized.
Right.
But now I feel like a butthole, but I have like a million masks in my truck, like the little blue ones. So I'm like, that's fine. But at least, now I can't buy anything all day. Or if I go to a restaurant and sit down, hopefully they have Apple Pay. But
Yeah.
But yeah, I know they released the June schedule for the Schmoedown, and you play Mr. Haas, I think.
Yes, Musas. I have him on the 25th.
Yep. Yeah, so that's interesting. How do you feel about that?
It is going to be a match. It's going to be it's going to be a difficult match. We saw what he did to Jacob. Jacob. I will say Jacob is working his behind off. He's definitely trying to get better. He came in as a Star Wars player. We needed him to flex as an IG player. And it showed that he's not there yet, but he's getting there. Though his Star Wars skills was shown just a bit. But Haas hit every question except the bonus. So, I mean, I can do that. So I'm not like worried. But it's going to come down to wheel. It's going to come down to just the one question here or there of a movie you may not have gotten to yet or don't remember. It's going to be close. I will guarantee, or I will try to guarantee that I will not have the same outing as I did against Jesse Swift because that wasn't great. I mean, it was great because I won and I navigated myself to a win. But it's definitely going to be better than that. So,
well, that's good to hear. It's going to be an interesting time. The Schmoedown's ramping up. I cannot complain. We will talk about most of that stuff in just a few minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and move you on to the back and then bring out the superstar, Mr. Robert Kastner.
Wow, my status grows as sentences progress. I was the second star, and now I'm the superstar. I don't know where I can go from here.
Yeah, the mega star. I think that's the next.
Ultra star. I do the Super Mario RPG levels. You do Mega, you do Super and Mega and Ultra.
Yeah,
that's how I do it.
So how you been, man?
It's been a tough week coming back from a holiday. Usually when that happens, and I took a 4-day weekend, coming back into work means that you have a lot of catching up to do, unfortunately. And that's exactly what the case was this week. So I felt a little bit behind. Was also in a situation where I had to back up someone who was on vacation for pretty much the whole week, which I was not used to. So I'm very, very excited that the week is over. Even though it was a short one, it felt incredibly long.
Yeah, I understand that. Like that 4-day, some places seem to pack 5 days of work into that 4 days.
Yes,
and that's no fun.
My company absolutely does that.
Yeah, whereas like the place that I work, we were so not busy right now. Like Thursday, we sat around for like 4 hours and didn't do anything, which was the most boring thing ever.
I used to have jobs like that when I was a teenager and early 20s person, and I miss those days sometimes.
Yeah, but so what you got going on?
Well, we'll talk about it probably depending on how much time we have, but fan league stuff is usually where my head is at if I am not working, because things are very busy in the summer, apparently. It's been mostly good. There've been some occasions for regret, unfortunately, but you will more than likely see that moving forward as fan league stuff gets rolled out over the next coming weeks.
Yeah, like that is the one thing, like every single week I hear people talk about it, I'm like, yes, I don't have to deal with that anymore, and I love it. Like, I don't know what that says about how I felt about playing, but every week I'm like, ooh, I can just, I do not have to play. And No, that's good. I enjoy that.
Well, I was told by people in my faction the other day, and I didn't think about it. They're like, "Wow, you've really played in Full Metal a lot." And I'm like, "Well, when you play in all 3 leagues, you tend to play a lot. I've played 4 times already between all the leagues, and some of them were like, I've only played once." And I was like, "Well, that's why it makes it brutal for me to pack everything in, because for some reason they want to keep playing me, which is fun. I enjoy it. It just is a lot of freaking work."
Yeah, I will say, whenever we get to the Harry Potter section, I did rewatch at least the core 8 this week
Hmm.
because last week I ranked my movies, which you were here for, and I realized this week that I ranked them based on how well, in my mind, that they did as a representation of the book material.
Yes.
And I shouldn't do that. So I re-ranked or I rewatched them and just tried to distance myself from the material and or how they related to the material, which means you guys will get to see that. And I'll show Amaru what my previous list was and how it changes based on that.
That was really what I was going to ask. Is like, make sure you saved the primary list, the initial list somewhere, so that when you
I got the primary list on this board here, and I got my secondary list, the updated one, on my phone. So
good. I want to see how he reacts to this.
Yes. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring back Amaru, and then let's talk some Schmoedown. There's been some interesting matches this week. I don't know why I doubt you, Robert. Like, you were 100% on predictions for Battlefield last week, and I was at 0. And
you're at 0.
Yep. And at least, hey, I got the prediction right on one of the people that Snyder was going to pick as his partner. So that was
my number 2 prediction.
So
that I understand. But yes, that did work out for me.
Yep. So
I definitely was like, there's no way, because I didn't hear anything from Jacoby. But if it's between Jacoby and Janine, then there's no way he's not picking up Janine. Like, no way whatsoever. So
honestly, like last week, me and Robert talked about it. I thought they were going to do like a Patriots thing. But then when the promo happened and William Bibiani was talking about the Patriots, and he was like, ooh. And I was like, oh, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And like me and Robert talked about it last week. Like, I don't want to say I'm glad that Snyder and Janine lost, but I'm kind of am a little bit because I think Janine deserves a championship win of her own, not being put into a title match like this. Like, I think she has played so hard and so good, especially lately, that being thrown into a title match like this, I don't think it would. I think there'd be fans that would absolutely hate it. And when she wins the big one, she should absolutely get adored for it because she's an awesome person and she deserves it.
You know what I say to those fans? Screw those fans. If she won that match, that's a title she won. Plain, simple, point blank, period. Doesn't matter if she was put in to replace somebody. You still got to perform at a title level against title competitors. And she more than she performed. And if they would have missed their 5 and they would and Otter couple would have won, that is a legit title for her. I ascribe to none of that whatsoever.
Yeah, like it was a really interesting match. Like now we went out of order a little bit. So Danger Zone versus Corruption. Man, I had Danger Zone winning, but man, did they not. Round 1 was not good.
They played like garbage in round 1. I was surprised.
Like,
I was very surprised.
I hope Bateman picks it up because if he does as bad as he did last week, this week, Roka might have his number, which is not saying much because neither one of them are playing very well, but maybe.
Not like Dan played particularly well either, though.
Yeah, honestly. No, he missed a couple. I forgot that Roker was playing Bateman. I was like, Bateman, I don't need him to win. And then I heard who he was playing because I forgot he was playing Roker, and I was like, man, I don't care who wins. don't care who loses. Right now. I don't care for either of them. I love Roka to death. I've always loved Roka, but this year as the outlaw is whatever, man. You can lose. It's good with me. I just don't know who I'd rather see lose more.
Yeah.
That's what makes for an enticing match, right? You don't know who you want to win. You don't really know who you want to lose. You're just there for the ride.
But yeah, so what'd y'all think of that match? Corruption versus Danger Zone.
Well, I mean, it happened this way because of how the spins went, but there was there was a comic book movies question in round 1, and then they had comic book movies in round 2. I'm not saying that things were skewed unconventionally in their favor, but things did end up working out in their favor. I liked how when they did the promos, it was Bateman going at Kalinowski for not being as good, and Kalinowski going at Bateman for not being as good, and Kalinowski ended up winning that. They did both agree on one thing, that Chance was better than Mike, and he was the best player in the match, which, with Dan, with a 5-time champion, that's pretty good. But Chance has proven over time that I think he is, in terms of talent, a top 5 guy, easy. And I don't think it's close. He made that look easy. I was so impressed by how he made that look. Dan's bugaboo is just this team. I don't know what it is. They went perfect from 2 on, and it didn't matter because they always say you can't win in round 1, but you can lose, and they lost after.
Yep.
I think it was the 3rd or 4th question when they were down 4. I was like, well, it's probably done unless something bad happens. So it was what I expected.
It showed me 2 things, or it solidified 2 things. Just like you said, Robert, Chance is a beast just across all levels. You can lose to that man in any division. Sans Star Wars, because it's always Sans Star Wars unless you're a Star Wars player. But second, it solidifies to me my belief that y'all need to remember, when I say y'all, I mean the proverbial y'all, comic book movies are movies.
Yeah.
And it doesn't delegitimize anything for people who actually think it delegitimizes. They're movies. If you're playing movie trivia, those movies will be asked within the movie trivia setting. So you need to be prepared for them, and you need to put them, if it's a strength of yours, put it on as a strength, because that is your trivia strength. So I skewed or not, you're in singles, you need to be ready for anything. So
yeah, I know Snyder has said several times he doesn't respect the intergeekdom in the Star Wars leagues, and he refuses to, I don't think he studies anyway, but he definitely refuses to study those categories, and that's what lost him the singles title. If he had bet any points in the betting round against Oyama and it being Harry Potter, he would have won the match. But because Harry Potter, him not knowing Harry Potter screwed him.
It's a movie.
Yeah, it's a movie, and it's a movie franchise. So you got to be aware of it. But again, I think that match went as I would have predicted. Maybe not them getting as many points, but the gaps and how it ended up at the end. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and then Shazam beat Snyder and Janine. And I got to say, Shazam is absolutely on a roll.
Shazam beat the Schmoedown. That's what they did.
Yeah.
They just beat the entire organization.
Yeah, who have they lost to? They've lost to the Odd Couple and Founding Fathers, right? And those were the only 2 teams?
Yes.
Was it Founding Fathers or was it Corruption?
Founding Fathers. They beat Corruption for the title.
Right, and then Corruption beat Founding Fathers. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is really interesting because it's going to be one heck of a game, or it was one heck of a game. And seeing them play against Corruption again in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whenever it is, that's going to be interesting.
If you're Corruption, you're looking at that match and you're like, gotta hope they miss something. because you can't play much better than Janine and Jeff played, and they still lost. I think Rue is correct. They did beat the Schmoedown. And what I mean by that is I think the Schmoedown, I know the tendencies that they're dropping into for the sake of trying to make the game more accessible, but I think they have to go back to asking more plot-driven questions. I've been a little annoyed with how much data-driven questions there are. I mean, Janine and Jeff's 5-pointer was a plot-based question, and that's great. Shazam's was not, and Jeff made mention of it. Not that it would have mattered. I think a plot-based question they would have got anyway, but I think they should look into making the questions of a certain ilk like it used to be back in the day, because I think it is it. I don't want to say it's like raising the mound in baseball, but it's a little bit like that. Lowering the mound in baseball. Raising the mound is what helped raise lower ERAs. So this is like a steroid era, is what I'm saying.
I don't know what's going on, so
That's
This
fine.
is a sports reference that I know what's happening, and I can guess what's happening, but I don't follow baseball either. So, but I understand your point. I understand it.
Okay. That's my point. It's just I think you're right, Rue. I think this is more a referendum on teams of a certain caliber are going to put up in 5-round matches 45 plus points a match at this point, just based on how the questions are skewed.
yeah. So that was one heck of a match. And then, all right. So, have any of you guys watched the matches that came out this week?
The only one I have not seen is the one that came out Friday, just today, but the past. JTE Preston. That one I have not watched, but I saw the IG match, and I saw Gangsta Ace versus the Major.
Yep. Yeah. I know who won JTE versus Paul. I know who won that, and I watched the other two for the sake of the show. I did not have enough time on Friday to watch it before this all happened. But yeah, the Star Wars match, that was good. That was really, really good.
I don't really I don't watch many Star Wars matches because it's to the point where like I like if they're getting asked in Star Wars, they're not going to get asked to me. And it's the stuff I know. It's Star Wars. Most people don't know much about it. I do follow along sometimes. Like, all right, how many of these can I get? And I do pretty well. But it's usually more if Marie's playing, whenever Nikki gets to play, and if I'm interested in the matchup. This was the matchup I wanted to see, and it delivered. And it delivered even more because nobody went perfect. Nobody went perfect because they didn't go perfect first round. And I was like, this is a match. But I swear to you, Gangsta Ace is my favorite personality of the entire year so far. He is so damn cool right now.
Yeah, that was one heck of a match. I don't know if Robert's gonna watch it, so I don't know exactly.
No, you can spoil stuff. My week's too busy. I focus on the Friday night stuff. I'm like a person who watches soccer only at the World Cup at this point. So.
All right, so Harper beat Ace in sudden death after what, like 7, 8 questions?
7 or 8 questions. They like Ace went up in round 1, and then before the end of round 1, they were tied. Then they both went perfect. They were tied. They were perfect. They were tied, and it was the match you expected. And he had said it. Anybody who thought Ace was going to get slaughtered or like just wasn't going to live up they learned very quickly that Ace is very capable of beating Harper, as Harper's very capable of beating Ace. But yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like if you watched the match when it debuted on Patreon Tuesday, they spoiled the other
after they did.
Yeah, they spoiled the other semifinal match.
Yikes.
And then they've edited it out. So if you watch it now, it's not spoiled.
Yeah.
But if you watched it on Patreon, it was spoiled. So I know who won that other one as well. So, Robert, if you get to watch it, you won't know who wins next week's match, like I do, and Amr probably do. But
that's okay. And in reference to, even though I don't have background on this, I think a lot of people looked at how, Alex handled Ace at Spectacular and probably thought Ace's time to shine had dimmed a bit. But it seems as if from that he went back to the lab, so to speak, and has kind of built himself back up into being the contender that he always was, but people, in some people's opinions, probably had been desecrated a little bit.
Yep. And then Parker versus Chance, that was a good match as well. I think that was the first IG match in a long time where I actually got round 2 questions consistently right. Chance spun X-Men, and I was like, ooh, I know the X-Men. I would have got every single question right without going to multiple choice. And that made me feel good about myself. Those are those moments where I'm like, ooh, maybe I could go back to trivia. And then I remember, ooh, the fan leagues are so much harder than this. I'm out. That was a good match. Parker beat Chance.
Yeah, Parker beat Chance, and it solidified the whole thing that I said at the beginning of the year. I've said it every time since. I believe Robert is the best player in the league in IG. Period. I think he's better than Mara. I think he's better than Mike. I think he's better than Chandru. And he has not missed a question this year. But also IG is a beast that anybody can beat anybody at any moment. But this shows, again, I am not backing down from that statement. Parker is the best IG player active right now, who can be beat. And if I have to play him, I plan on beating him. But the man is good. The man is extremely good. He always has been. And putting a fire under his ass just makes it more dangerous. And I saw a couple comments. People are like, Chandru's going to destroy him. And I'm like, yo, have no idea. None whatsoever.
Go back a couple years and watch, Full Metal and multiplex stuff, and you'll see.
Yeah, and we get to see that match next week, and that's going to be really interesting. I will say, and Amr, you might be able to be a voice for this, but this week Chance and Robert were on Twitter. They had their little Twitter feud, and at that point they already knew who won. So I wonder, does that make Chance obviously has to play up the gimmick on social media? That must stink if you lost, having to be hey, go after a person who beat you, knowing that.
Yeah. It's fun, but it's damn it, this would be so much better if I actually won the match.
Yeah, his jabs at Parker were so good on Twitter that I was watching it Thursday, and I was like, if he doesn't win, those jabs, that sucks. And I felt so bad for him.
But you know what? I think at least for Chance, for sure, he was the first fan leaguer to get into Schmoedown. So he's used to it by now. He's used to it. It just becomes how good can I get at this to throw people off? Either way, to not know if I've won or lost. We're all getting a lesson in that, being in the Schmoedown now. So,
all right.
I would liken it to actors who have to go on the road and promote movies, and people ask them questions about things that they have to stray away from, even though they know, or being a Marvel actor and knowing things and not being able to talk about them. Imagine it's just part of the gig. And just to cap off what I'm saying, Rue mentioned Parker's the best IG player. I think Chance is the best 2-3-way player in the league right now at this point.
Yeah, because I was gonna say Robert made him answer his 5, but he didn't. If he would have, he had the possibility. He just got a question that he didn't know. So I knew it though. I would have made Robert answer his 5. I'll tell you that much.
There you go.
All right. So Schmoedown versus Oyama versus Irwin predictions, and then Roka versus Bateman predictions. So we can go ahead and move on to movies, and hopefully I get a thing right. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, no offense, Amaru. I'm going with Oyama. And I hate that because I've been pulling for the suspects all year, but there's something with him. I think he can beat Irwin. I don't know.
I think he can. Whether he will is the question. Mine is not a prediction. Ethan's winning. I'm gonna believe in Ethan 100%, no matter what is going on at all times. So we'll just go over to Robert. Go on ahead, sir.
Breaking the tie. Paul Oyama's I wish I had a good sports comparison. He's like the dude who is always lurking. He's like the perennial dark horse guy where you see him on the mountaintop. He doesn't get there as often. I know he did get there once, but he's always lurking.
He's Paul.
The lurker. Paul. I just think that's him. He's the lurker. And I just think every time he plays, I'm scared of him because he's just so knowledgeable at such a young age. It's gross to me, honestly. So as much as I love Ethan for how he treats the game and how he goes about it, I think I am with you, Mr. Roberts. I think I am going with Paul Oyama as well. That shouldn't tell you that you should be confident in that just because I went 2-0 last week. It's just that's where my head is feeling at this moment.
Honestly, I think anytime we do predictions, you're always the one who's right. So the fact that you agreed with me makes me either feel really bad for you and that Ethan's going to win because I said Oyama. I'm like the curse around here. Or I'm right, or you're right, and which... Yeah. So, all right. Roka versus Bateman.
When Collins was here, I got them both wrong. I'm just saying. But I was trying to be nice to the. I was trying to be nice to the guests, and it didn't work.
Yeah, that's why I just played up the storyline. I was like, "There's no answer here that's correct."
No.
All right. So Roka versus Bateman. I think if Ben can capitalize on his and do better than he did last week, I think he's got it. I think Roka is very easily shaken right now, and Ben has one of those characters where he can just be annoying as crap. So,
my gut says Roka, and only because I'm trying to think of matches throughout the year that Bateman has had. He hasn't had many. But has there been a match, teams or singles, where he didn't get movie release dates round 2? I don't. Not really, right?
Well, last week, what did they get?
They ended up with opponent's choice, I think.
Yeah, and then I don't remember what they chose for him.
And I can't remember whether or not that was the one where they had to pull through martial arts films.
Yeah,
Because they didn't pull Tony Jaa off of multiple choice. And I don't know whether or not and Roka has at least Roka has outperformed his expectations this year. That's what I'm saying. Because he didn't have the greatest of years last year, and on his own, he's been doing pretty well. I'm still reeling from that Liz loss. And he's been able to navigate a lot. Ben has not been able to navigate so far. Again, either of them could win, but my gut says Roka. We'll see, though.
I don't like going with you both ways, Colton, but it's if Danger Zone had won, I would be more open because of Ben putting a lot of work into. I know it's same movie pool, but putting a lot of work into the teams to get to the number one contender and the title shot. That he'd be kind of resting on his laurels a bit. Since they lost, and he probably undoubtedly has gotten a lot of crap for it, even though Dan said that they both were at fault. I imagine he still got crap for it. I imagine that would have to light some sort of fire under him a bit. And I tend to skew towards the person that is coming off the loss more recently, just because I imagine they have more to prove. So I'm going to go with Bateman as well, but it will be close. It will not be a runaway.
All right, so let's move on to our little Harry Potter talk here. Yeah, so go Slytherin. All right, Prisoner of Azkaban. Last week, I know we were talking in our private chat that both of y'all think Prisoner of Azkaban is the best Harry Potter movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So last week I said that was not the case for me. I said it was like my number 5. And
Yes, you did.
yeah,
I still don't understand it.
yeah. So yeah, like
Give him the full list, Colton. Give him the
Okay.
full list.
so my full list is number 10, Fantastic Beasts 1. Number 9, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Number 8, Deathly Hallows Part 1. Number 7, Half-Blood Prince. Number 6, Crimes of Grindelwald. Number 5, Prisoner of Azkaban. Number 4, Goblet of Fire. Number 3, Chamber of Secrets. Number 2, Order of the
That's me
Phoenix.
leaving.
And number 1, Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Sorry,
Can
I
you-
missed like 2 and 3 just because of what I heard. What was 2 and 3 again?
Order of the Phoenix was 2, and then Chamber of Secrets was 3.
No, I did hear that right. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's when you left. Yes.
Okay.
I was going to ask you when you tuned out of that list, because for me, it's like 6.
Okay, so like I said at the beginning when I was talking to Robert, I have remade
Yes.
it because last week when I watch the movies, I think of how they were adapted, and I am not as big of a fan of Prisoner of Azkaban because they left it's the one movie that I've said that it feels like the most distant from the others. Like Voldemort's only referenced twice in the movie. Yeah, I hate that. He's the big bad, and he should always be the focal point for Harry's nightmares.
7 movies aren't enough for you, huh?
No, I think Fantastic Beast, he's going to show up in that too, and I think he should eventually. But yeah, well, I mean, I figure he will. We'll get into that in a few weeks, but when we talk about those monstrosities, so for me, they leave out the entire secret keeper and the reason why they're really mad at they talk about, oh hey, you turned Lily and James over to Voldemort, didn't you? But they don't really go into that a whole lot in the movie, and I love that part of the book, and I hate that it's out. I mean, it's not as bad as some the 4 and 5 leave a whole lot out, but it's enough out to where I'm like, you could make 2 movies out of this, so I understand. But 3 is not horribly huge in volume that you couldn't just leave that part in. But they have the entire scene where Harry's in the hallway and he sees Peter Pettigrew and he's chasing the mouse, but he doesn't know it's a mouse. But in the books, only the Marauders are able to see other Marauders on the map. So it doesn't make that scene. That's 5 minutes of my life that I've just wasted, and I hate it. But
I didn't remember that from the book. It is
Yeah,
a while since I've read the book.
Yeah.
all right, so there's one scene in the book where Lupin sees Peter on the map, and then since then J.K. Rowling has kind of came out and said that he was able to see it because only the Marauders were able to see other members of the Marauders on the map, and so that's the reason why George and Fred are not looking at the map and seeing a dude sleeping in Ron's bed and wondering what's going on there for years, and then seeing him being Charlie's bed. Same deal. But yeah, like that's the reason. And I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, this scene, like I understand like you have this scene so that you have the funny line with Snape and stuff, and like him, and it gives pretext to how Lupin gets the map later. But that's not really necessary. But I watched the 8. I still don't want to watch the first Fantastic Beast. I like the Crimes of Grindelwald, but I know not a lot of people like that.
No.
I think it's a great addition to the books. It's just not a good movie because she's not good at writing a screenplay.
You're telling me. Oh my gosh. I can't. I bring it up every time, but I can't get over when they just when Newt and Tina just go outside. They're like, "Hey, look! Oh, we need to go to the graveyard now," and there's no segue between. That's the best microcosm for how bad of a movie that is that I could ever like. Every time it comes up, I'm just like, "Oh, so we're just in the graveyard now. We don't need to figure out how. We just see a thing. Whoop, yeah, we're there."
And this whole conversation is exactly why I never compare a movie to its book. Like I have to a little bit, but a movie is a movie, a book is the book. The two scenes for me that you talked about would just end up being an exposition dump. Just a scene, just a whole bunch of exposition that would make the movie 10 to 15 minutes longer. And Alfonso Cuarón did amazing being able to like give reason for each of those things being put out and give reason for, okay, we need a reason for Lupin to be like, wait a second, maybe Peter Pettigrew is still around with a good scene. Let's not have to explain, oh, only Marauders can see Marauder. Harry doesn't even know that Lupin is a Marauder. So where are we going to put that in?
Yeah, I hate that too, that they don't mention that. But that's a nitpick of mine that has nothing to do with the movie, so I didn't. It's understood. I feel like if you've not seen it, it's understood because what other way is Lupin going to be able to just say all the rules of it? He's like, that's not possible. He knows how to get rid of it beforehand. He talks to Harry saying, "Do you understand that this map?" Which Harry has never seen him see before. He's only seen the joke. How does Lupin know it's a map? You kind of can piece that together throughout the little inklings of what Lupin says by the end of the film. When he says mischief managed, you can kind of say Padfoot, prongs, wormtail. It's the thing you gotta like just connect. And then and the Secret Keeper again. Just I feel like that would just be. They had the expedition dump in Rosmerta's in Madame Rosmerta's apartment above the bar. They had the dump where they said that where Sirius killed the 13 people, left the finger. That's the exposition dump. You can't keep adding it on or it would just drag the movie. You gave the whole scene with David Thewlis and Gary Oldman and Timothy Spall just going back and forth at the end is perfect. It's perfect. It's in the action. It keeps the movie moving. It allows them to be their characters. You get what you need to get. I think the only thing I was like, I wanted to see them hit the knob. But this is a small nitpick. Instead of going a Romulus, hit the knob. There's something quick you could have done. But So
my thoughts, I'm between you two with regards to the end. I like reading in the book. It's a lot of explanation between the Secret Keeper and everything that happened. It's like 30 pages, maybe? I don't remember. But I like that for the, pathos of what happens. It's too difficult to put at the end of the movie and not just grind the movie to a halt. So I understand why it was done in the way it was done. Colton, to you, I have a question.
Yes.
How many Harry Potter movies were helmed by two-time Oscar winners? I'll answer for you. It's one, and it's The Prisoner of Azkaban, because Alfonso Cuarón did it, and he's a freaking genius. If you've ever seen Gravity, if you've ever seen Children of Men, if you've ever seen like lots of stuff that he did. Y Tu Mama Tambien, I like that movie. I'm just saying, like, there's a clear distinction, and we talked about it a little bit. I like the third one because the kids are not kids anymore, and you can tell that the experience from the first two movies are now played into how it is that they act. So they're like real actors at this point. The first two movies, they're cute, and they get better from 1 to 2, but now they're like real, fully fleshed out, realized people. And I think you can see a clear distinction in how it is that things are shot and framed and how things come together. The general ambiance of it feels darker, which I like, because you can see a clear level up of talent. No offense to Chris Columbus. He made a lot of movies that made a lot of money in the 90s and stuff. And these movies made money too. But Alfonso Cuarón's a freaking genius, and it shows in this movie.
Wait, and just to clarify for my head, because I always, whenever I just hear them and not paying attention, I mess up. You said Chamber of Secrets was number 3 for you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a little less insulted then. A little.
Okay, so
I thought you meant Sorcerer's Stone. Chamber of Secrets. I like Chamber of Secrets a pretty good amount. I think that's a good, like, one is they're all great for the most part. One is just, this is a kids movie. 2 is like, ooh, it's a kids movie, but this is getting good. And then 3 is that distinction. 3 is that, all right, we're in it now. So I will disregard a couple of the leaving streams that I did.
So me rewatching the movies,
Yes.
What's
the new list?
I didn't re-rank them. So number 10 is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Number 9 is Crimes of Grindelwald, because
Yes. Thank you, Jesus Christ.
It's a garbage movie that, like Robert said, sometimes there's no reason for stuff. Like in Nicholas Flamel's house, they just pass a cupboard, and it's just to show you the Philosopher's Stone.
Yes.
That's the only reason they go in that house. That is the only reason. And
why is Jessica Williams in this movie? I don't know. I'm glad she is because I like her to get exposed, but there's no point for her to be there.
But and then number 8 is Deathly Hallows Part 1. Number 7 is Half-Blood Prince. Number 6 is Philosopher's Stone. Number 5 is Goblet of Fire. Number 4 is Prisoner of Azkaban.
I moved up.
Number 3 is Order of the Phoenix. Number 2 is Chamber of Secrets, and still my number 1, Deathly Hallows Part 2. I love Chamber of Secrets. Like,
I don't like your disrespect to Half-Blood Prince, but it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but I understand why you would make that distinction.
Yeah.
I have to debate something about things in that movie fairly soon. And I have things to say that put respect on Half-Blood Prince's name.
Put it on. I think I ranked it like 2 or 3, honestly.
I don't have it that high.
Okay.
I don't have it that high, but the more I watch it, every time I watch it, the more I'm like, this is not as much as the coming of age teen love movie as people make it out to be.
No.
They got the scenes. They are there. But this thing is a lot darker and a lot better acted. It probably has some of the best acted scenes in the entire series. Yeah.
I would agree. Yeah. That's a fair point.
But it is. I do think it's probably around like 5 for me. Maybe 4. Yeah, probably number 5. I'm actually pretty positive it's number 5.
Okay. I shot mine off at the hip. I thought about it. I was like, maybe it's not that.
I've done it before, so like I can do it now. But I'm gonna go in. Actually, I'll try it. So Crimes of Grindelwald is last. Fantastic Beasts is next. Then it's Sorcerer's Stone. Then it's Chamber of Secrets. Actually, I'll probably take that back. Then it's Deathly Hallows Part 1. Then it's Chamber of Secrets.
Okay.
So that's 5 of them. So what I have, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Yeah, 5 is
Half-Blood Prince. 4 is going to be. This is where it gets difficult. It's between 4 and 3.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say that 4 is Deathly Hallows Part 2, and 3 is Order of the Phoenix. 2 is Goblet of Fire. 1 is is Prisoner of Azkaban.
Okay. I'm more aligned with you. I think I think 4 is a little lower for me. 5's a little lower. I have that Colton thing where I try to. That's the first movie I watched where I was more aware of the book, and I can't get over my first watching of it where I was like, man, they cut out. I know why. It's a brick of a book. I get
They had to, but
they had to. It's just
yeah.
There's things in that I wish they had kept. Like, is this really stupid? But I like the owl scenes. I like them not being able to do the Hagrid running away from the oars and stuff, and like
that I was getting. First time I watched it, I was like, "Oh no, that's the F." Okay, yeah.
I like that part. You know, it's those things. So otherwise, I think we're fairly in lockstep between two places between all those movies. So that's fine.
Yep. But yeah, I like Chamber of Secrets. I love Chamber of Secrets.
Yes, that's clear by you ranking it in the top 3.
Yep. Yeah. So I know Amaru, you gotta head out.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. And also, I don't watch Bad Batch, so.
Well, you got to do Goblet of Fire. You got to talk about Goblet of Fire a little
bit.
Yeah,
go ahead. I got time for that.
Okay, so Goblet of Fire. I think it's a pretty good movie. Like, there are things, like, as a book fan that they left out, and, like, it's the first time in the books where, like, in the movies they explain, oh, hey, if you catch the golden snitch, you win the game. In the book, Victor Crumb catches the golden snitch, doesn't know how to do math, and then loses the game by 10 points because he caught it too.
Yeah.
Fred and George made it very. I don't know if it was Fred or George, or I'm pretty sure it's Fred and George who made it very clear in the book. He knows how to do math, but he knew that the Irish were a way better team, and he didn't want them to get crushed. So he just took it so they didn't get humiliated.
Yeah, I mean, people will use that excuse, but guess what? Like, I don't know what they do in the wizarding world, but they do not teach them math at all.
Maths are pointless in the wizarding.
Yeah, so in my opinion, it was, oh, I just did the math wrong. Ooh, we're down 10 points. We lost the game by 10 points. I hate it. Like, that's one of those things, and they don't talk about it in the movies. Like, they talk about, oh, if you catch the snitch, you win the game. No, it's just that you got 150 points and the game's over. But, yeah, so, like, the World Cup, I wish we had actually seen it in the movie instead of just the snitch go out and then, ooh, and then, hey, the dark mark happens, boom. And I, like...
Yeah, there's no Winky, which I don't like.
I could have done without Winky. She was a bit much for me my first time reading in the book. I was like, I'm getting tired of this elf.
Yeah. I mean, that's like one thing. I don't need her all the way through as the through line for everything. I just like her. It's stupid things like I wish they were in the box because they go up to the top. The things in the Malfoys are in the box. I like it's a bunch of little things. But,
I would say this is the movie I had to separate book from movie the most, because if I did it, there's a lot of, again, you said it, 4 and 5 are bricks of books there, but it's the fourth one that I was a lot more like, come on. Where's Ludo? Give me Ludo. And probably the one thing that I even though this is my number 2 movie, because when I think about it as a movie, I think it's an amazing movie. I think the way it's played out, I love Brendan Gleeson. I just think this movie is really well made, but it has the one change that I hate the most, and it's fucking Task 3. Oh, I was waiting on the Sphinx. I was waiting on the Scroot. I was waiting on a maze that had creatures and spells, and you gave me that bullshit of bushes.
Bushes.
Fuck your bushes. Sorry, Colton. Screw your bushes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and then this is the movie where, all right, I have written questions for trivia before, and I wrote, what is the phoenix, or what's the name of the phoenix that gave the feather to both Voldemort and Harry's wand? Because I remember in book 4, Dumbledore talks about the combining of the two ones
Yeah.
and the entire process. And I can't remember the Latin word right now. I'm having a moment. But he's
Priori
like,
incantatum? Is that what you're talking about?
yep.
Okay.
He's like, it was that Phoenix, and he points at Fox. That's not in the movie, and I have so associated that with the thing that I have had to go apologize to people and be like, "That's my bad. That was not in the movie. You got the question right because it was the only Phoenix you guys have ever seen in one of the movies so far." But I apologize because that's on me. But like.
I'm with Amaru on the third task. I wasn't even thinking about it, but they really do a disservice to Harry because they make Harry seem like he really is bumbling his way through everything. And for task 3, he does train a lot. There's no, do a training montage. Why can't we do a training montage a little bit?
True. I will say though, before you go on, books more so in the books than the movies, but Harry's a fucking dumbass. So yeah. I don't give a shit about that. So, but anyway,
my thing that I don't like the most is that they cut Dobby out. That's the thing that pisses the second task lead up. Oh, hey, Neville Longbottom. Hey, just why don't you use Gillyweed? No, Dobby was there, was sent. It was a big thing. We'd get no house elf stuff. We get no, the Liberation Front, puke or whatever. What is it, right? Barf? Spew. We don't get any spew. We don't get to look in the kitchen. I think looking in the kitchen would have been an interesting little side thing.
That would have been a great scene.
Yeah, you get more about Fred and George exploring the castle more. I mean, we got that a little bit in 3 because they have the Marauders map. But knowing all these secrets of the castle would be cool. It's the little things like that that add up to me, which draws it back a little bit. But I would say that the action in 4 is, I might say it's the best action. Pound for pound, I think it's the most raw. I think it's the most. I like when the action is not as choreographed. I like it when it's a little bit off kilter, and it is a little bit because Harry's just 14. But I like how it kind of plays together with the activity of the tasks and everything going on.
Every time I do, again, it's been the longest time since I haven't watched the movies and I haven't done a run. Every time I do a run of Harry Potter, Harry getting chased by the dragon on Hogwarts ceiling is always the movie where I'm like, oh, I'm doing this again. Okay, cool. It's always that scene.
Yeah, but yeah, like I agree with Robert about the Dobby thing. He should have been in this movie. Like, it makes his death in 7 pretty much mean nothing because you don't see him for 5 movies.
Wow. I don't know about that.
Like, it means less. It's true.
Yeah, but like in the books, he shows up quite frequently. So when he dies in the 7th book, you're like, oh, Dobby. I think he's in 2, 4, 5, and
I don't think he's in 6, but I think he's in the 7. Yeah.
But he just shows up in 7 and then.
Question: who would have been a good Ludo Bagman?
Oh, that's a good question. For 2005. Crap.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Hugh Jackman?
I haven't seen the movie, but like I feel like how he played Barnum would be a good way-ish.
Yeah.
To do that. I think this might Bruce Campbell. I know he's not British, but I feel like Bruce Campbell would kill that.
You need a dude who can like seem like he's off the cuff all the time, and he's a dude who tries to like warm everybody up, but inside he's a horrible mess. You need someone who is terrible with money, who you would look at like, man, he's probably terrible with money. So Bruce Campbell is not a bad, like, he has to be comedic too, obviously. So yeah, I like that.
I was thinking maybe the actor who plays Varys in Game of Thrones. Circa 2005. He might look like, I just Googled a picture of Ludo Bagman as a reference point, and they do have to.
Remind me who's Varys again?
I'm sure I'll have to look up
somebody's uncle or I can.
I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. Yes,
the eunuch. Yes.
Yeah. That dude. who I can't remember what he was in, but there's something else that I know him from.
Looking at that picture, I had somebody in my head, but he didn't fit. You know how when you're reading the books, you have an image of somebody, even though they like describe them in detail, your image is nothing like what they're supposed to look like. So that picture is nothing like what Ludo Bagman looked like in my head. He looks like Bruce Campbell in my head, but looking at that, English has a connection to Harry Potter, Stephen Fry.
Yeah.
Stephen Fry would kill that role.
That's very good. If he's supposed to look like that, then yes, absolutely. He's big. You'd believe he played sports of an ilk at a time. He's a funny dude. Do off the cuff stuff. Yeah, I think that's pretty good call.
Yep.
So, now I'm really sad there's no Ludo Bagman in that movie.
Yeah.
I will say, like, we haven't talked about Voldemort in this. I think Ralph Fiennes, great job. I wish they had made his eyes red like they're supposed to be. Like when we did our little working title thing, I specified Ralph Fiennes with red eyes because he's not, and he's supposed to have at this point in his life, he doesn't have the nose, which I like, but he's supposed to still have the red eyes with the slits. Do the thing. Which I'm sure, just like me and Robert talked about, I'm sure he probably didn't want to wear the contacts, just like the contacts didn't work with Daniel, just so that he could have same eyes as his mother. But hey, whatever. Like,
yeah, I think Ray Fiennes was definitely a good choice. I think he played it really well. I think the only time where he didn't work is towards the end or towards certain parts of in Deathly Hallows Part 2. It's like you're doing too much, man. You're doing too much. But yeah, he was great. I enjoyed him. I enjoyed that scene. Yeah, but I enjoyed the film a lot. I think it's a very well done movie. But I have to separate it from the book because they had to cut the crap out of that thing.
Mm-hmm. Give Mike Newell a lot of credit. He's a very good director.
Yeah, and
Prince of Persia: Sands of Times notwithstanding.
I feel like that movie's underrated. I had a good ass time watching that film. But anyway,
it's entertaining, but that's another thing where I think about my experience playing the video game and I get sad watching it. I'm like, man, this doesn't give me the same joy. It is what it is. But no, it's better thinking about it over this review. It's better than I thought it was.
Yeah. I agree. So before we move on to the Bad Batch, I'm sure Amaru, you gotta head out. Go support those usual suspects.
yes.
Yeah, I'll be in there to watch in like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, however long it takes us to talk about the Bad Batch. But yeah, this will be good. Do you have anything you would like to plug on your way out?
June 25th, me versus Musaz. Go watch. I have a contingency of people who are going to troll for me in the chat. So also help out with the trolling in the chat. I'd love it. Bite-sized breakdown as always. Had the Cruella review and Quiet Place 2 review out for a while now because both have been out. Cruella, great movie, by the way. Biggest surprise of the year so far. One Gotta Stay tomorrow, which has gotten so much hype, is Linkin Park versus Paramore versus Fall Out Boy versus Panic at the Disco.
Ooh.
Yeah,
it's a two-horse race in that one for me personally, but
it's been fun getting feedback from a lot of people. Like, I must be on this show, and I'm like, there's only 6 slots. Maybe I can make this 8. Shit, but it's great. It's amazing. And last week was the video game episode of Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Soul Calibur, and 2 weeks ago, Soul Calibur and Super Smash Bros., where I tried to defend Soul Calibur to the death.
I like Soul Calibur, but it would still be 4 for me just because I don't have as much of a connection to it.
I figured that, and that's what ended up happening. But I held the mantle for it. It wasn't my 1. I didn't save it, but it wasn't my 4 either. So
okay,
yeah, I would have saved Super Smash Brothers. Like, that one was the easiest because I have children who love that, and robbing them of that joy, I just can't do with myself. So I can't do it.
I would have
Mortal
said
Kombat
Street
was-
Fighter, I think, actually.
That was before, and I kept Mortal Kombat. So
That's fair. I understand.
anyway, gentlemen, always great. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Your reviews, please. Yeah, appreciate you.
All right.
Great having you on, sir.
Peace.
As always.
Peace. So there was one thing. Well, before we move on,
Okay.
I forgot that we talked about when we talked about Chamber of Secrets. Rewatching it, I mean, I always knew he was good, but Kenneth Branagh is such a good.
Very good.
He's so good. Like he is so much better. Like that's one of those aspects from the books that you're like, this guy is so annoying. Kenneth Branagh is so good.
Might
Like,
I suggest to you, if you like Kenneth Branagh on that, I watched this in school. Henry V, which was his directorial debut. He got nominated for an Oscar for it. It's the only one he's been nominated for. He's very, very good as Henry V.
Okay.
I'm just
Yeah, he was so good in that role. But and like we talked about it, like you brought up Gravity. I hate that movie. I hate that movie.
Why?
Okay, I can't get past the scientific inaccuracies.
Oh.
Like it's so like I just can't. Like I'm just watching it, I'm like, that's no.
So that took you out of it?
Like as a person who I'm tried majoring in astrophysics, I was just like, no. And the same thing, Interstellar, can't.
I don't like Interstellar that much.
Yeah, for the exact same thing. Like I can't deal with movies that take place in our universe, supposedly, that disobey our laws of physics. And I'm just like, no.
Okay.
Like I understand if it's like people with powers, I'm cool with that because that disobeys our laws of physics almost immediately. Like I don't think about that once when it comes to like the Marvel movies. Like I'm like, okay, Space Stone opens a wormhole. That would destroy our planet immediately if it was real life. So I just turn my brain off for that. But in a movie, like, yeah, I can't. But let's move on to the Bad Batch. Also, I love your handle today. It's great.
It took me a minute before I came in. I was like, what do I want to put in here? And I was like, oh, this is the best thing I got. So
yeah, so that was such a funny joke. Also, hey, you haven't watched the Bad Batch yet, so you need to go watch that because we're about to spoil the crap out of it, and then you come back, okay?
Yes, please do that. You won't get my joke unless you watch the episode, or maybe you would anyway, but because it's not like the cleverest of jokes, but it is still funny.
It is really funny. So Wrecker, oh my lord,
He's on a razor's thin edge. He is.
dude. He's turning. His programming's kicking in.
He needs to stop hitting his head on stuff. It's gonna shake the worst stuff loose. Honestly,
good soldiers follow orders. I heard that. I was like, oh no.
he heard crosshair in his head.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, someone don't let him go anywhere for a while. Let him go.
We should have a Wrecker watch, by the way. That should be part of this. We should do Wrecker watch. Like we should rank from 0 to 10 how close we think he is to pulling a crosshair. I think that's my suggestion for how we should treat the Bad.
Oh, I give him like 2 more episodes. Like if he hits his head in the next 2 episodes, I guarantee that's the reason why we haven't seen any Imperials. Is because when he hits his head and he defects, then we'll see him and Crosshair together.
I think he's like at a 7 right now on a scale of 10, and it's sliding ever so closer to the high end mark right there. But
yeah, I thought the episode was really interesting. They were in that little factory. Like they used the battle droids, which I think was so funny that they were like, "What? We're going to use clankers?"
Yeah.
And yeah, you sure are. And I like that Echo. I'm pretty sure it was Echo that called them clankers because I don't think we had ever heard the others use that term. And since he fought in the war, like with other clones, it would make sense with like Rex and them. It would make sense that he would call them that, and I was like, yes, good. And then, when the girls like in season 7 of the Clone Wars, these were the least boring arcs. The Bad Batch arc was boring, and those girls with Ahsoka arc was boring. And then in this episode, I'm like, hey, these are all interesting people. And then I'm wondering at the end, who are they talking to? Like,
so these people were in, these girls, Trace and Rafa were in.
Yep.
Season 7. Okay, and they worked with Ahsoka.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
I have to imagine that was Ahsoka then, right?
Yeah, she was. Well, no, because they referred to him as a he, their boss, the person they were working for. So it could be Ahsoka. I think it's either Rex, because he would be interested in some rogue clones.
Indeed.
And we know he shows up later in the season from the trailers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either Rex. It could be Ahsoka going under the fulcrum.
I couldn't tell if the person was wearing like Jedi robes.
Yeah. Or Bail Organa.
Interesting. Okay.
Because they've got they had Jimmy Schmidt in for Rebels.
Jimmy Smits.
Yep. They got him in for Rebels. And they used him and they used his likeness and everything. So I'm sure they could do it again if they have that opportunity. But it was a really good episode. I still don't like that we're not seeing any Imperial presence, but I understand.
This was because they had the battle droids and because of where they went, I was less inclined to think about that. I actually thought this was a good episode for making me not think about the things that weren't in there.
Yeah.
I will say a couple things because I didn't read the credits last week. Rhea Perlman as Sid. Great casting for her to be the voice of the person who owns the most illustrious space Dave and Buster's that you'll ever see. The kind of Dave and Buster's where you can shoot laser crossbows at the walls and break stuff, and she doesn't care. So that's cool.
And then take it and be like, "Hey, this is how you do this.
How you do it." Why do they give Echo that weapon? Give her a weapon she can handle. That weapon is gross and unwieldy.
Yeah, it does look cool though.
It looks very cool. It kind of looks like it doesn't belong in Star Wars. Kind of looks like it belongs more in a fantasy epic, but it is what it is. When they said that they were going to go to Corellia, I was like, we're not going to shoehorn a Han Solo thing into this, are we? And then they went to the factory and I was like, is this the factory like where Han Solo's dad would have worked? And it's not, because he worked at a freighter factory. I looked this up afterwards. He worked at CEC. And I don't think that was CEC. So we can leave that out of there. I was just like, how many planets are we going to visit that I know? And so far it's been like 4. And I was like, cool.
Yeah. I kind of agree. I was really hoping that I'm glad that they didn't show like a little Han or even his parents, where if they were just like, you met his parents and they were like, Billy Johnson is his name. And then we find out Han's last name was Johnson or something instead of Solo. Granted, that would still be better than how he got Solo in the Solo movie.
That's the worst part of a Star Wars movie ever to me.
Oh yeah, it's like, you don't have a family, so you're.
He's like
Han Solo.
Yeah, he's like Han Solo. It took you that long to think of it. You should not be a recruiter or whatever the heck. You should not have that important of a job if it took you that long to think of Solo. If that's what you wanted to do, you jerk. God, I hate that so much.
Yeah, they definitely. I wish they had explained it better. But
I mean, like if they were at a freighter factory and they ran into someone who said, just off the cuff, like, I need to get back to my kid. He's a real wild one, likes to go out into the streets and hotwire speeders. I'd have been like, cool. That was a reference. I don't need to know backstory. If they just made that reference, I would have been fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like the one part of this entire thing that I do like that they're keeping with the batch and not going off to is I think that the more and more they go off to the Kaminoans and the Empire is the more and more we're going to get connections to them trying to help the sequel trilogy along.
You mentioned that before, but that's your concern.
Yeah, because obviously, like, we know that the Kaminoans aren't around in the original trilogy. Like, there's only a few in the universe after. So I think they're going down. Like, there's going to be, something happens and the Empire kills most of them.
Are there more Ugnaughts than Kaminoans?
I do believe so.
Wow, that's pretty crappy for the Kaminoans.
Yeah, which is the reason why I think, I think from after in the original trilogy, there's a book that talks about there's only been one scene in the entire galaxy in a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm less like, ooh. And in The Mandalorian, you see cloners trying to do stuff. And, you know, if they had the Kaminoans there, they'd be able to do it a lot quicker. They wouldn't need to keep Grogu for so long. They could have just got his blood like one time and then boom, they good. So it makes me seem like, oh crap, they're going to kill these people and then they're going to have to lead it into whatever. And I don't know what Omega's power is. Like, the more and more, I used to think it was force sensitivity. I hope it's not, because then it's going to absolutely paint into the sequel trilogy. I hope it's just that she is good at everything else that the Batch is good at.
Yeah.
And that would be great.
I mean, I was talking about the crossbow thing, and then at the end, she was like, she was like freaking Legolas at the end. So that's a fair point. What else was in that episode that I liked? The action in it is good. I was of this opinion thinking about it. In my opinion, I think the member of the Batch who could survive the longest on their own is Tech. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Not only because, 4 weeks ago, I said that my niece, we were watching it, and I had freeze framed it for just a second, and she looked over there, and she was like, "You're on TV."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yes, now I don't want him to get murdered, because then I'll have to like think of myself as me getting murdered.
Mm.
That'd be good. But yeah, like, I think he looks like the most normal as well.
Does. That is very true. And he seems to know, like, he seems to be aware of how things work beyond the scope of them being soldiers, which they clearly make that distinction that Hunter has no idea how to behave in the world as if not being a soldier or somebody who's hired as a gun, because that's all he knows.
Wrecker, he's gonna fall apart soon.
Oh my god, he will totally fall apart.
Yeah,
what he's gonna do on his own or wherever he ends up.
Echo has this robot arm. He's not going to survive. Now, the one thing with
he would be second to me, honestly, because I also think he is aware of how the world is supposed to work.
Yeah, but I feel like he probably also, his chip's going to go off, because he is an actual Wreck clone. Yeah. So eventually, I think that's going to happen as well. And like, at least with Tech, like, granted, he knows all these things. He does tell his friends a little late sometimes, "Oh, hey, I knew this. This is about to happen." And then it's a little late.
He likes to play stuff close to the vest a little bit. I like it.
So out in the real world, that might get him killed because he doesn't tell someone and then they beat him up or they shoot him in the head.
No, I think he's playing a long game.
Yeah.
I think of everybody, he would be the one thinking 5 steps ahead to like, oh, what if everybody turns on me? What should I do? Well, maybe I should be the Batman and I should keep the records of everybody's weakness in my file so I can pull those out at a moment's notice. Yeah, like, I know what you're talking about. Like, when they go to Corellia and they're like doing the Han Solo Falcon on the back end of the Star Destroyer thing. It's like, we've done this millions, like, we're doing this old thing again. Like, yeah, it's worked every time. Like, yeah, why don't you listen to Tech? If it works every time, why are you questioning what he's doing? Sorry, it's not exciting for you, Echo. Jesus.
Or like, what was it, 2 weeks ago, where he takes the power core out of the
Yeah.
Yep. And then he's like, oh yeah, those things like electrical power. And then after it stole it, and I'm like, why? How do you know that and know not to guard it? He's just like, yeah.
Well, I mean, they have to have plots for things. If he just knew everything, it was like, well, you can't. That's something that could be stolen. Oh, we'll just put people around it. We'll shoot the dragon. Oh, well, then that episode's 10 minutes long.
Yeah, that's true. But that's so funny. Like, but yeah, yeah, I can't wait to watch next week's episode. It's
Yeah.
always
Where do you think they will end up next? Besides Ord Mantell, because clearly I think at this point they're going to go to Ord Mantell, if not every episode, every other episode.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess they're gonna go on another thing unless they're intercepted by Rex or Bale.
I don't think that'll. How many episodes? 16.
Yeah, we just passed 6, so we got 10 more.
Yeah, I don't think they'll. I think they'll have another couple bottle episodes, quote unquote. So,
Yeah.
I think it'll be a little bit of time before it plays into larger stuff. I think they're still trying to build out the groundwork and the foundation of the Bad Batch as characters still.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's one of the best parts of my Friday is waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and watching that. And then I get to go on this show and talk about it. And I really like it. And next week, at least I'm not going to wake up early to watch Loki because it's on a Wednesday. So I can just turn off.
Yes, Loki is next week. Oh my
Yeah, so
gosh.
yeah, so we're gonna have 2 things to talk about next week.
Dang it! I got to make sure I'm prepared for that. I have a very big match scheduled early part of next week, so all my attention and focus from after this till then is on that.
Yeah, and then all right. So do you have any final thoughts on the?
I would say I would say this was like my second favorite episode of the 6 so far.
Yeah, I love the episode where Crosshair goes to Onderon by himself.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite episode.
Yeah, that is my favorite episode.
That's the one with the dragon, right? That's the one where they're on the moon, and
yeah,
consequently, then he's also taking people and murdering cadres of innocents. Yeah, that's my favorite one so far.
Yeah, and I do like the first one as well. I mean, it's really long, but
I have to go back and watch it. I watched it half paying attention. I should probably go back and watch it just to, make sure that I give it its full respect.
But yeah, like I can't wait for next week. It's going to be really, really something. And skip the farewell, like
and more Wrecker watch. That's a guarantee. If you're not on board, I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I will totally agree with that. I don't think he gets past episode 10 with him not having a meltdown.
Yeah. They might have to do one of those things, like if you've ever watched a Supernatural, or like where somebody goes crazy and they have to be tied up in a room to like detox. They probably have one of those kinds of episodes.
Yeah, that's still like that might be the moment when Rex comes in, because Rex's chip has already been cut out, so he might know, hey, I can cut these chips out of you guys, and you don't have to worry about this, so that we don't have to put Wrecker down.
That's a good. That would be an easy segue for that for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll see Finnick again. So if they arrive on a planet that's, kind of shady, someone's gonna she'll show up again. But yeah, like it's gonna be a really interesting time to see. Like I hope that they don't put Wrecker down. Like that would be the worst. If
I don't think they'll do that.
Like I think it's enough of a kid show that they might not do that.
No, they need comedic relief.
Yeah,
Best source of that so far.
but I would think it'd be interesting if they did that and then Rex showed up and was like, "Hey, I could have just done that." As it puts like some kind of weight on the series and then they know, hey, we can do this with Crosshair, or maybe even the reverse is they eliminate Crosshair, and then Rex shows up and is like, "Hey, I could have took care of that for you," and then they feel mournful, which that could be more likely, but
That's probably more likely.
yeah. All right. So, do you have anything you would like to plug?
Keep on watching me in the fan leagues, as mentioned. Full Metal Multiplex are kind of where I'm spending the most time. Ontol as well. I'm in mostly doing geek stuff there. Working my way up the ranks, which is nice. Might get close to title shots. I have not played in TMG yet. I think that will happen sooner rather than later. I think I get a match, and then if I win that match, then I think I'm in a number one contender spot for that too. I really shouldn't be. I'm stretched so thin with the regular movie and the geek movie stuff. There's no reason I should be in number one contenders matches for geek stuff, but it ends up happening anyway. So just keep watching those leagues. I'll show up more than likely a lot of times. Again, you'll probably get sick of me, but I win a lot of matches. So what are you going to do? Otherwise, my podcast is going to record like a episode very soon. So I will talk about that more and where that can be found, once it is done. These other things, extracurriculars, are kind of taking up a bit of my time. So I'm focusing a little less on that, but I still want to do it. Otherwise, at Robert Kastner on Facebook, come and chat with me, bros and non-bros, whoever you are.
Yeah, bros and lady bros, or
no, just non-binary, whatever. Yeah. Wherever you are in the spectrum, it doesn't matter.
That's right. Yeah, and of course, like this week, like I said at the beginning of the show, we released our first 2 episodes on my YouTube channel.
Yes.
The first episode is SuperNova Kids, where my kids talked about their top 10 favorite Pokemon.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was interesting. It was definitely a lot different because I'll go ahead and say it. My children are the best, but they said, yeah, hey, we'll talk about the Pokemon, and I gave them instructions, and I got pictures on the screen, and I told them, hey, wait for the picture to come off the screen and then talk about the Pokemon. They would talk about it with the picture over their face, and I'm just like, So I'd have to I was doing all the backstage production stuff, and I was like, oh my Lord. But it was good. And then we had the first episode of SuperNova Fandom, where I did a theory about what if Voldemort chose Neville instead of Harry as the chosen one, and how the events of the original timeline would have went out after that. And yeah, that was on there. It's not the best video. I got to rewatch it. It's a little laggy. I may re-record it. So if you see it and it looks really good, I probably did re-record it out there in the YouTube space. If you see it and it looks like crap, yeah, I didn't get the time to do it. Or I just decided, hey, it's the first video. It's fine if it's not the best. But yeah, it was a very interesting time. This month will be Harry Potter month on the fandom show. So yeah, since we're talking about it on here, I want to talk about it on there.
Of course.
Yep. So yeah, this will be good times. But yeah, just if you want to, follow me on Twitter at ColtonRoberts8, and you can follow the show at @Supernova_show. It's been great. Thank you, the Mega Ultra Cast member, Robert Kastner.
Here every week. Can't get rid of me. And thanks to Amaru for showing up and giving his 2 cents, giving his insider perspective, as well as his expert opinions on things Wizarding World.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for coming on again, and we'll check you guys out.
Don't forget